The United States is considering providing Ukraine with missiles that can travel 2,500 kilometers, enough range to hit targets deep inside Russia, including Moscow. This would represent the most significant escalation in Western military support to date. We have exclusive analysis of the Tomahawk's precision guidance systems and modular design that allow for low-altitude flight and retargeting capabilities. The strategic shift this would create goes far beyond battlefield tactics. It reshapes the entire security architecture of Eastern Europe. Ukraine's current long-range arsenal has kept Russian forces on edge, but it operates within a tightly constrained geographic box. Systems like the Storm Shadow and ATAC EMS missiles have proven effective at striking targets up to 190 miles behind the front lines. Yet their operational range is a fraction of what the Tomahawk offers. This limitation has effectively created a sanctuary for Russian command centers and logistical hubs deep inside their own territory, areas previously considered secure. The Tomahawk's 2,500-kilometer range is not an incremental improvement. It is a categorical shift that erases the concept of a safe rear area for Russia. This is the difference between being able to strike a supply depot 100 kilometers behind the front lines and being able to strike the command bunker directing the entire war effort from over 1,500 kilometers away. The strategic implications are immediate and profound. The Tomahawk's modular design and multiple guidance systems, GPS, inertial navigation, and terrain contour matching enable it to fly as low as 100 to 150 feet above the ground. This low-altitude flight profile allows it to avoid radar detection and complicate interception attempts. Furthermore, the latest Block 4 and V variants can be reprogrammed in flight to strike alternative targets and can even loiter over an area, using onboard cameras for final target confirmation before impact. This combination of precision and survivability means a single missile can be tasked with destroying a specific building within a large complex, a capability that fundamentally transforms strategic targeting. Unlike shorter-range systems that follow more predictable flight paths and are more vulnerable to layered air defenses, the Tomahawk's long range allows it to approach targets from unexpected directions. This forces Russian defensive planners to consider threats from virtually any azimuth, stretching their resources thin. The integration of extreme-range pinpoint accuracy and a stealthy flight profile creates a weapon system that is fundamentally different in kind, not just degree. What makes the Tomahawk's 2,500-kilometer range a strategic game-changer is that it moves the entire Russian homeland from a secure base of operations to a potential battlefield. The psychological impact of placing cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg within reach cannot be overstated. But possessing the capability is one thing. Deploying it effectively against a prepared adversary introduces a separate set of challenges. The high unit cost, around $1.3 million per missile, means every launch must be meticulously planned for maximum effect. With the Tomahawk, the map of strategically significant targets for Ukraine expands exponentially, reaching far beyond the current front lines. The immediate tactical value of striking supply depots and troop concentrations remains, but this system unlocks a second-order strategic effect: the ability to strike the very infrastructure that sustains Russia's war machine. This includes previously untouchable targets like the command centers of military districts inside Russia, critical energy infrastructure such as oil refineries, and major airfields housing strategic bombers. For the first time, air bases near Moscow that launch sorties against Ukrainian cities, or naval facilities in St. Petersburg that support the Baltic Fleet would be within range. Analysts emphasize that striking these deep targets could cripple Russia's ability to coordinate large-scale operations and inflict significant economic damage, compounding the strain of sanctions. This forces Russia to divert substantial air defense assets to protect its heartland, potentially thinning out defenses at the front and creating opportunities for other Ukrainian systems. The psychological impact of making Moscow itself vulnerable cannot be overstated. It challenges the Kremlin's narrative of domestic security and control, potentially influencing political calculations. The Tomahawk's substantial 1,000-pound warhead is engineered to penetrate and destroy hardened targets, including fortified bunkers and critical military assets. The strategic shift is not just about hitting new targets, it's about forcing Russia to defend every critical asset across its vast territory, stretching its military and economic resources to the breaking point. The necessity to defend its heartland compels a reallocation of defensive assets, potentially creating vulnerabilities closer to the active combat zones. This capability transforms the entire Russian homeland from a secure base of operations into a potential battlefield. The Tomahawk fundamentally alters Russia's vulnerability landscape, putting its deepest strategic assets from the Kremlin's command nodes to its economic backbone in peril. This creates a new and precarious strategic reality for Moscow that necessitates a significant shift in its defense planning. However, this new capability arrives with immense political and logistical hurdles that could delay or even prevent its deployment. The high unit cost means every launch must be meticulously planned for maximum effect, and Ukraine lacks the traditional launch platforms like warships or strategic bombers. The decision to provide Tomahawks is not merely a military transfer, it is a profound geopolitical calculation with risks that extend far beyond the battlefield. The United States has so far hesitated, with the Biden administration previously rejecting the request precisely because it represents a clear escalation threshold. This hesitation is rooted in the potential for Russia to interpret the transfer as a direct threat, possibly provoking severe and unpredictable retaliatory actions. Russia has issued explicit warnings regarding the potential repercussions. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev stated that such a move could end badly for everyone, signaling the potential for a severe retaliatory response. The primary concern is a cycle of escalation where Russia might retaliate by providing advanced weaponry to its own allies, or even by directly targeting the launch platforms or supply chains of these missiles. Such actions could inadvertently draw NATO forces into a more direct confrontation. The substantial cost of each Tomahawk, estimated between $1.3 million and $2 million, also imposes a significant limitation. This high price tag inherently restricts the scale of supply, meaning Ukraine would have to employ these weapons with extreme precision to maximize their strategic impact. Each launch would require meticulous planning to ensure it delivers a decisive blow against a high-value target. Furthermore, Ukraine lacks the traditional launch platforms, warships, or strategic bombers required for deploying Tomahawk missiles. This logistical hurdle implies that allies would need to facilitate the launch, potentially implicating NATO assets directly and creating new points of friction. This necessity introduces additional political and strategic complexities that must be carefully managed. Given these challenges, some analysts propose alternatives like the Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile, JSSM. This weapon could be launched from aircraft Ukraine might acquire, offering similar range with potentially fewer escalatory and logistical complications. The debate ultimately hinges on a critical calculation: whether the strategic advantage of breaking Russia's sense of security outweighs the risk of triggering an uncontrolled escalation with a nuclear-armed power. The final determination rests on a high-stakes gamble that the Tomahawk's psychological and military impact will pressure Russia to negotiate rather than provoking a wider war. The success of this strategy is entirely dependent on Russia's reaction to this perceived shift in the strategic balance. The coming weeks will reveal whether Western capitals are willing to cross this red line, a decision that will define the next phase of the conflict. The provision of Tomahawk missiles would not be a silver bullet, but a catalyst that redefines the entire conflict. This capability forces Russia into a defensive posture across its entire territory, compelling it to protect assets from Moscow to St. Petersburg. The strategic calculus for both Kiev and Moscow is about to change irrevocably. This 2,500-kilometer red line represents the most significant decision point in Western support for Ukraine to date. We will continue to follow these developments closely. If this analysis opened your eyes to what's happening, please like this video and subscribe for further updates. Thank you for watching.